Von Miller, one of 8 unanimous picks to the All-Decade team for the 2010s. Got us thinking, though, who could be on the Broncos and make the 2020s All-Decade team? I'm Phil Milani alongside Eric Dalala. Eric, an interesting question as we start a new decade of football here. The Broncos have a lot of young talent. Who do you think could be on this roster and make that 2020s All-Decade team?
Can you tell me who we draft first this year?
Yeah, that interesting. Could be on the list too, yeah.
No, Phil, I think if you look at the offensive side of the ball to start, you want to, when you're considering this, pick some young players, right? Because they've got to play for most of the next decade. So I first go to Courtland Sutton, Pro Bowler for the first time in his second season, over 1,000 yards, led the Broncos in receiving. He's a guy that I think should only get better. And some of these top-tier receivers that we saw featured this time around, a DeAndre Hopkins, a Julio Jones, their careers are still going, but they're probably not going to play the entire next decade. So I think that's where Courtland Sutton could step in and maybe, say he's one of the top receivers to play next 10 years.
Yeah, I think how you approach this is you look at, okay, who are some of the young best players in the league right now at that position? And I would say that Courtland Sutton has to be up there. The thing about Sutton, though, is that he's such a physical wide receiver. I think that if he can refine his route running, he'll be able to play a long time. And he could get through this entire next decade, knock on wood here, and definitely be considered for the all-decade team. You mentioned it. Some of the best wideouts in the league right now won't play this whole decade. So maybe some of these guys coming in the draft this year, we've highlighted so many of them, they could be in that mix. But right now, I definitely think you would look at Courtland Sutton. Another guy I think that you could look to on the offensive side of the ball is tight end Noah Fant. Definitely one of the best young tight ends in the NFL right now.
Yeah, and you kind of look around the league, Phil, Travis Kelce, he's getting up there. I believe he's 30, so he's hopefully only has a few years left. I know we're tired of seeing him kind of beat up the Broncos with the Chiefs. So George Kittle is really the guy that, you'll have to beat that super talented tight end out in San Francisco, also from Iowa. They know how to make tight ends out there.
TJ Hawkinson, he could be in the mix there too. Didn't have quite the rookie season he wanted, but a lot of talent at the tight end position too.
Yeah, and I think with Noah, anytime you can have that mismatch and just be that dynamic athlete where linebackers are too slow to cover you, safeties aren't big enough to cover you, that's when you have a chance to really do something special. And Noah obviously has all those kind of natural physical abilities, and we saw he just got better as the season went on, led all rookie tight ends in a bunch of categories, set franchise records for tight ends. So he's a guy that I think over the next 10 years, what they're hoping when you draft him in the first round is he's going to be that dominant player.
And he's coming into the NFL at the right time for a tight end because, like you mentioned, such a big mismatch on the offensive side of the ball. You can expect the tight end position to really put up some huge numbers. Eric, I would say that Drew Lock could be considered in that mix, but that quarterback position is so hard to make the all-decade team.
Yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes down in Kansas City is probably going to have a pretty nice hold on one of those all-decade spots, if I had to guess. But who knows? Drew could make a run at it. It's just a little early to tell. Luckily, he got his rookie season out of the way in 2019. Didn't count toward the next decade.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows what could happen over the next 10 years? It's just two positions. You saw a guy like Drew Brees not make it in the 2010s team. So that gives you an idea of how difficult it is to make this team. Eric, let's switch to the other side of the ball. You would have to say that Justin Simmons has a good shot at making that team.
Yeah, Justin, just because I think, one, he's able to stay on the field, played so many consecutive snaps, knock on wood, that he's able to stay healthy and stay out there. But when he's there, kind of a dominant player that, especially in pass coverage, makes those big plays, a ball-hawking safety. And in Vic Fangio's defense, I think he can take that next step.
Yeah, he definitely took a huge step last year. You can expect him to only get better playing another year in this system. A ball hawk kind of guy, expected to put up big numbers. Eric. So we've gone over 3 guys we think could be in the mix. You think a guy like Vaughn could even keep going? We heard some past Broncos legends say, don't just be happy with the one all-decade team. Keep that foot on the gas.
Well, we know from a guy like Bruce Smith that it is possible to make a pair of all-decade teams. Gary Zimmerman, another guy who made 2. I think at the pass rusher position, maybe Vaughn has 3 or 4 elite seasons left, and then he's able to kind of hold on there for a little, put together another 4 or 5, maybe in the 5 sack range. And if you can do that, that's certainly going to put you in the conversation. But hey, there's a reason that Bruce Smith is the all-time sack leader with 200. It's hard to get there.
Who knows? Maybe the way that he takes care of himself, and if this Broncos defense can play at an elite level, he might be able to put up some numbers. What about his sidekick, Bradley Chubb?
Yeah, Phil, he's a guy that, going into this previous season, if you had asked me this question, Chubb might have been number 1 on my list of guys that I thought could make the all-decade team next time around. Unfortunately, that ACL injury kind of threw that second season away, and so it's just kind of a wait and see. Vic Fangio said he expects him to come back better than ever, and I believe that too. I do think he'll be able to make a big impact in year 3, but for me, he's just got to prove that he can get back to that and stack another double-digit sack season. But hey, if he comes out of 2020 with 10 sacks again and he's at 20 through 3 years, that's still pretty impressive.
The Broncos had quite the 2010 decade. 5 division championships, made it to 2 Super Bowls. They only got 2 guys on that team. Based off of what you said here, we might have like 6 or 7 next decade, right?
Yeah. Well, I think what you want is with these options to, have 1 or 2 of them continue to be consistent players. And when people do play at the level that Von Miller and Chris Harris did for the entire decade, that's when you know that your team's been having some success. So I think if these players are even in the conversation, it's good news for Denver.
Yeah, a team like the Seahawks had 4 players and a head coach. So you're thinking about maybe 5 members. We'll see what happens over the course of the next decade, but the Broncos certainly have some young talent that should be in the mix. All right, that's going to do it for us. For Eric Dalala, I'm Phil Milani.